Hi, and welcome to Global Student Voices, the podcast that brings you exciting stories and invaluable insights from students, educators, and thought leaders around the world. I'm your host, Coach Martin, with 30 years of experience in international education. Join us each time when we navigate the exciting journey between international secondary school and university. Let's get started. I am so excited to be on here on Global Student Voices with my friend Suahil Housholder. Suahil, how are you?
I am well. Thank you for having me today.
This is so exciting. We haven't had a chance to catch up in a while. You're now finishing up your doctorate, appropriately so, and you're a bigwig. You're the CFO at Anderson University. So tell us a little bit about how your path into higher education. Actually, let's start from a little bit earlier. You are one of us. You are a global student. You came from Cayman Islands. Tell us a little bit about your journey into higher ed, because a lot of the students listening and parents will certainly appreciate that connection.
Yeah. So I'm going back quite a few years. I came to Anderson University sight unseen in 1993. And I came here as an international student. Let's see, I was 16 years old, so I was quite young. And how did I learn about Anderson University? Well, I attended a private Church of God K through 12 school in the Cayman Islands, and my principal, some of my teachers, and even students who had visited from Anderson University were all a part of the influence of why I chose Anderson University and came here sight unseen. It was the people that represented the institution that drew me here. And it had a couple of other benefits. One, it was north. It would have winter, so at least 4 seasons. And I just needed to get off the rock, is what we say when you live on the island. So
Sure.
I was excited to leave and to go someplace that was small and had the same values of the schooling that I was accustomed to.
Yeah.
So
Our
that's what
stories,
drew me here.
yeah, our stories are similar. I did the same thing coming from Kenya. It's amazing how close. Like I left Anderson in '93. My wife graduated in '93, and we took off. So we were literally that close. And then you finished up your time at AU about the time I came back to work at AU. We've been crossing paths, but we continue to overlap. Tell us about your journey into administration at a university.
Yeah, so after I graduated from Anderson University, I had a BA in accounting. So I returned home to the Cayman Islands, and I had a scholarship from an audit firm. And so I went back to gain the work experience that was a part of that scholarship. And so we were there, husband and I, we married, and he moved down to the Cayman Islands, also sight unseen. So I came here sight unseen, and he went there sight unseen. And we were there for about 5 years and decided that it was time to return to the US. And we came back to Anderson because he is from Anderson and his family is here. And at the time, he wanted to pursue his doctorate as well in English. And so we did that. We came back and he enrolled at Ball State. And we decided to take a break, for me to take a break from work, because I had worked 5 years in accounting in the Cayman Islands, and it was really a grueling 60-hour type schedule. It was really stressful. So we were going to take a break. And so that's what we decided to do and start a family. And so here in Anderson, we had enough savings to buy a house, and he could start his doctorate. And then I realized that as we started our family, that I actually could be much better at being a mom if I were working. And so I thought, okay, let me dip my toe back into going back to work. And I had realized that working for-profit companies was something that didn't really resonate with me. I felt so empty working in that way. And so I thought, maybe I need to work at a nonprofit. And we literally lived down the street from Anderson University, and there was a job opening for a budget accountant. And when I left the Cayman Islands, I was already a financial controller. So I had already elevated myself within the accounting experience that I could have joined Anderson University as a controller, but I didn't. What they were looking for was basically a staff accountant at the time. So I was kind of starting over But I was okay with that because that meant that I wasn't driving an hour to Indianapolis and, working 60 hours again. And so I would have a better work-life balance and it would be close to home and I'd be going back to my university. So my alma mater. And so that's what started my interest in higher ed. I wanted to be a budget accountant and just contribute to my alma mater and my family. And since then, I've just basically climbed the ladder. It has been a blessing to be here and be a part of the Anderson community and really grow up professionally here.
Well, that's amazing. I think that story parallels, our life experience too. My wife started with our son at home, and it wasn't long before she realized that her mothering would benefit greatly from some time at work.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
just some people are just built for it, I think, and you certainly have demonstrated that you are in your trajectory there. The CFO at a university at a small mid-sized Christian university in 2025 is a big deal, and it's
It
also
is.
a scary time for the industry.
It is.
Um, so, how has that I totally get the unfulfilling nature of working in kind of a for-profit arena where what you do just it's hard to conjure up the motivation to do something that just doesn't seem like it really matters that much. And
Mhm.
whereas working at a university, obviously what you do matters a huge amounts. It's very easy to see how tremendously impactful higher education is on the lives of people. Any of us who've ever spent any time at the university, unless we were completely tone deaf, saw people transform during these 3 4 years after high school. It's an amazing thing, and part of why I do what I do is to help them get into a place where they can find that transformation and get it fully, finding their right fit. I'm not currently attached at any university, but I'm seeing from the outside this painful time where universities that should be packed to the gills have been struggling for enrollment. This kind of huge need in our society for what small liberal arts schools produce in terms of citizens, and this disconnect. Then, it seems like they should just be everyone should just be knocking down the doors to small liberal arts schools, and
Absolutely.
yet those seem to be the ones that are taking the brunt of the decline. Do you have a sense of why that is, or?
Yeah, so good question. I'm currently working on my doctorate, as you know, and I'm actually interested in the closed institution research. In fact, I'm doing conducting interviews of CFOs at small private institutions where they've closed to learn about their experiences and kind of figure out the why
Yeah,
behind why this is happening. And there is obvious contraction here in the United States. We have a lot of institutions, and we're right sizing, I think, as a nation. But it's happening because institutions are running out of resources. They're running out of cash is king, and they're running out of it. And it's the cost of living is increased. The compliance pressures have increased. The burden to provide information has increased to an extent where it has become extremely burdensome for the finances to take care of the expenses of the institution. So why is that happening now? Well, the truth is we are seeing a contraction of students, number of available bodies at the undergraduate level who want to attend college, partially because they're afraid of getting into debt. They may not have the financial means, also don't want to get into debt. And also, there are just fewer high school students, and opportunities have become more available to them where they could start work without having, higher education experience. There are a variety of reasons, but I think those are the things that I'm seeing as I conduct research. And the value proposition of higher education is actually under attack. The White House is attacking it, as well as the industry, and they're doing a lot of relaxation of job requirements where getting a degree is not necessary as it would have been in previous years when we saw enrollment at institutions booming.
yeah, I think it is interesting, and because I work internationally, I'm seeing the opposite. I'm seeing this huge growth in international schools, 14,000 international schools last year, and expected to add another 1,000 this year. English speaking, college ready, every single one of them targeting a small number of liberal arts colleges in the U.S., mainly Ivy League.
Yeah.
They're all setting up, trying to get every one of their students into this small pool, without educating their clientele, their families, that there's some other institutions that actually provide the same kind of education
Absolutely.
without that big either price tag or big name. And so that's actually what we're trying to create with our global education network is a direct link between those international schools that are producing university ready English speaking students in greater and greater exponentially growing numbers, and smaller mid-sized universities who are in the decline. And the parents are already paying, and this, you went to private school, international school in Cayman Islands. Parents are already paying huge dollars, in some cases, significantly more than they will pay for university,
Right.
to attend an international school in Nairobi or in Georgetown or in wherever. Like, they're paying big dollars for that international education in hopes that their students then, I think ultimately it's coming down to wanting to create this future-proof kid, like this rapidly changing marketplace where
Mhm.
people don't do jobs and take a job and spend their lifetime there.
Right.
Yeah, they realize that's not going to happen for their kids. They don't have any idea what the job market, what kind of jobs people will do in the future. They don't understand the ones that are out there now, let alone the ones that are coming. And I think we've done a terrible job just in education, and those of us in education, I think we've done a terrible job communicating how important developing character, building values, learning how to learn, um, taking risks, doing hard things, all things that are done very well at private liberal arts schools all around the world. That's their bread and butter, and we've failed to communicate how important those things are for highly adaptable people.
Mhm.
And so um, it is a challenge, a communication challenge. We're all kind of in the same boat in that regard. Are there hopeful signs? Are you guys still in the feeling like it's still a lot of darkness ahead, or are there some points of light as you guys look out into the future? Hey there, GSV listeners. Before we dive back into our conversation, I wanted to take a moment to thank our incredible guests, the students, school officials, and thought leaders who inspire us with their stories and insights. As you're listening today, be thinking of ways that you can support the guests of this show. There are links in the descriptions with just some of the ways. I'm Coach Martin, your host and your partner in navigating the university journey. Whether you're exploring university options, preparing for admissions, or seeking support during your academic path, my books provide practical guidance and insights to empower your university success. Join me in individual coaching, group sessions, or courses designed to equip you for university life and beyond.
I am from Brazil, but I attended an American school in Indonesia for my secondary education. So my situation was really confusing and really scary. Coach Martin really understands global students, and he loves helping us out.
Again, thank you for listening. Explore the podcast description for links and resources and contacts discussed in today's episode. Visit www.theglobalstudentsolutions.com to learn more and embark on your journey toward university success. Now, let's return to our conversation.
I think you mentioned this word adaptability. I think that's extremely important for private institutions to adapt and pivot. And if what we're seeing here in the United States is that we have a lot of students that are coming in where they have already received dual credit. So what that means is that when they're in high school, they're also earning college credit. And by the time they come to the university, they can transfer those credits and not have to take those classes. And so universities like ours would model our financial model around a 4-year student when ultimately they're just a 3-year student, or even sometimes a 2-year student
Yeah.
if you have a really ambitious student coming in. And so that means that we need to pivot. We need to change. If we need 4 years of revenue from a student, then that means we need to offer them 4 years of experience. Maybe that's a 3 year undergrad program plus a 1-year master's program. So we're looking at that, and also micro credentialing, where you maybe you learn a skill like you master Excel. We give you a credential for that. And so we're looking at certificates and other ways to develop the circle of learning here at the institution. And all institutions, we have to look at it that way,
Yeah.
as well as offering opportunities online, expanding that portfolio as well as
Yeah.
the in-person experience.
Yeah, I think I think in this current political climate, um, offering online opportunities from places like Anderson University could be extremely useful. As I met with students, there's a reluctance right now for people to come to the U.S. I mean, they recognize the value of higher ed in the U.S. They recognize the universities are producing a premium product in that sense, but they're more likely to. I mean, they're going to try to get into New York University in Dubai and not have to go to the States. Um, or, can I do a year or two of online work that will feed into that experience? But the challenge, I think, and you can help me with this, is the challenge I think schools have struggled
Mhm.
creating the same kind of cultural experience in online education. Um,
Absolutely.
and I'm curious, just from between your research and kind of your own experience, are there some models out there of opportunities for students to do online and still get kind of that peer cultural enrichment that we
Mhm.
experienced attending university?
Mhm.
Um, Anybody can read a book. We can all sign up. I've taken some classes from MIT and Harvard and stuff online, but I don't feel like I'm a Harvard student. I feel like I'm at
Absolutely.
Harvard. So how do you do that?
Well, ultimately, if you really want to experience the culture of the institution, really feel a part of the institution, you actually need to come to campus. And you're not going to gain that online. It does not matter how hard the institution might try to garner that experience. It's just not going to happen. You really have to visit the campus and be a part of the institution in person, touch and feel, and meet the individuals across the screen from you. And what I've seen at other institutions that are really being successful at the cultural part of it is that they have a mini or a short residential component of their online program. And that could be a week or two at the beginning of a calendar year, or I see it more often in the summer where there is a summer component. When most of the institution, the undergrads are gone for the summer, there's more capacity to invite online students than to be here. However, if they're here during the summer when it's less robust, the experience is not quite the same. But it is a way to connect those students, is to bring them to have a residential component of an online program. I'm not sure how that works with international visas and the complexities of that side of it for international students, but here within the nation, where you see institutions having masters or doctoral programs that do that, it certainly is a part of their success in offering the online component.
Right now, I'm woe to make any comments about what can happen with visas because people going through the process correctly are being denied. So,
Yeah.
and yet some people are getting them. I can't get into that, but it is true. I mean, historically, it has been possible for international students to participate in online programs if the school sets it up correctly,
Correct.
which is kind of one of the reasons that we've been consulting with universities, is to help them set up so that they can kind of take advantage of this, and have a robust global online component, and allow the international students that are in that component who want to have that added enrichment of an on-campus, and which is huge value, not only for the student, which is obvious, but also for the institution. They're much more likely to become donors and active alumni if they've had an on-campus experience.
Sure.
Um,
And persist and finish their program.
it's absolutely.
Mhm.
Um,
Because at the end of the day, we're people who value relationships. And if you don't have a relationship with the institution through somebody on campus, you're never going to feel connected. that feeling of belonging disappears if you're not here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And we talk a lot with our students who are applying. We talk about building those relationships early. Get on Zoom calls, do the interviews that are optional. Absolutely do them. One,
Yeah.
you're more likely to get admitted, but also you're starting to build those relationships, which are the key to success of what is otherwise a really difficult proposition. The idea that you're going to spend 3 or 4 years focused on growth is kind of crazy, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there's a reason why we've created spaces called campuses to do that, because otherwise none of us would. Like, I can barely do a 6 week healthy program, right? I can't even do a 48-hour healthy eating program. How am I going to do this in education? Um, and so, yeah, I think it's amazing. Um, well, I want to tell you, you've got a book out, finished, right? You part of it. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about how that came to be, and what you're excited about in that.
So the book is called Community College is College. And I work at a private institution, so I get a lot of curious faces. But the reason I participated in this book writing project is because in my doctoral program, one of my professors in the community college space, she created a project for her students to participate in a book writing project. She brought a former student who had graduated from the program to join us. And so the writing team is made up of a professor of mine, a doctor from the program, and four other writers who were students at the time. And so we came together to talk about the community college. Now, as a student of higher ed, there are different types of colleges out there. There's private, nonprofit, and sometimes they're faith-based, like Anderson University. And then you've got some that are secular, and you've got the community college as well, which is a wonderful opportunity for international students that's often overlooked. And then there's public institutions in each state. And our focus for the class that I was in was community college. And so we did an analysis of the books out there about the community college, and we saw that there was a gap in the literature to help the high achieving student realize that this is a viable option for them. The community college used to be a junior college that you would, right out of high school, you would attend and maybe get an associate's degree. And the options were limited. And today, the options have grown. In fact, in some states, you can get a bachelor's degree from a community college. And so our book aims to demystify what a community college is and how it can benefit a high achieving student. And it can benefit also the international student because its cost structure tends to be lower. And the opportunities tend to be more diverse or different than you would get at a small private liberal arts university or a public college or university. So yeah, it's really exciting. I got to focus on the chapter that talks about how you pay for college. We chose as a team not to identify which chapters, we wrote. So if you look at it, you won't see chapter, I don't remember which one it is. Chapter 6 is written by me. It's not that way. We're all contributors to the book. And so it took us about 2 years to write. And it was started during COVID. And so we did a lot of Zoom meetings and phone calls and independent writing and research. And it was a really fun project. And it's amazing to have an Amazon profile even before I'm done with my doctorate. So I'm really appreciative of my professor, Dr. Amanda Latz, and how she gave the opportunity to, she could have written this book on her own, but she chose to invite her students and former students to be a part of this project. So I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, as you should be. It's a big deal, and I love the added value of filling in gaps in literature. And I do a lot of training and prepping on college types and helping people try to understand what the different types of schools are and how do you know if you're the right fit for this or that or the other. And like you said, the stuff on community college is like super dated. Like even what little is out there is really talking about something that doesn't even exist anymore. Um, and as I've traveled around trying to find potential destinations for international students and for students coming from overseas, I initially kind of set community colleges aside because of my own ignorance, as you talked about, misinformation, and then also the idea, okay, well, there would be some good sites, but then housing can become a trouble, but there's community colleges with housing as well, and
Yes,
so for international students, I really value, and for all students, I really think the value of living on campus whenever possible is kind of how
absolutely.
you elevate your experience. Um, and, for some community colleges, you don't have that. There isn't really a campus. But for others, it's there and it's very vibrant. They have a wonderful setup. And like you said, cost-wise, it can be much more attainable. So,
Yeah, it can be affordable. And also, like I said, some offer bachelor's degrees and some even have athletic programs. So if you're athletically inclined, there are opportunities there as well. Now, there are many community colleges. And so it would take some time to discover what works best for, an individual student. But it's a great avenue for a student who might not be able to afford a private education.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, there's a lot of institutions around the country and around the world. There's a right one for you, whoever you are, if you're willing to look for it and do the work. So thank you for your contribution to that. One of the reasons I kind of theorized that that's how that book came to be. And one of the reasons I want to talk about it is because I actually think that's a really good example of a model for like peer projects. Like I would love to see English teachers or science teachers find 3 or 4 other science teachers at international schools around the world and collaborate together for a year of combined action research and publish that together. I think it's a great way to kind of lower the burden of producing a whole book yourself by doing it in a partnership. Plus, I think the benefit of getting to work with a team of peers across, like if you had a teacher from Cayman Islands and one from Kenya and one from Thailand and one from China, and that you're all collaborating together, obviously all working in international schools perhaps, but that value added of kind of that shared experience and how much you could learn from each other. And
And one way that they could collaborate is because of different countries and different experiences, where you just have a chapter that's written by one individual and their experiences or whatever the topic might be. That's very common. I learned as a new scholar is that many of the academic books are written that way, where it's actually a journal length article becomes a chapter
yep.
in the book. So yeah, absolutely. That's a great model. It really helped us that our professor had experience in publishing already.
Yeah.
So she knew how to approach it, and then who the connections were. And that really helped us at least get our foot in the door and get the consideration that we needed to get a book contract. So
Yeah, that's the difference. I've helped a lot of people finish their books, but I haven't found anybody get a contract yet. So I'm not the contact for that one. But that's great.
What's interesting is that you have to. Well, the way we did it was we made an abstract and a proposal before we wrote the book, and there was enough trust because of the credibility of our professor in order for that model to work.
Yeah.
So you really need an anchor writer to bring the group together and then move through that process quickly and well.
Sure. That makes sense. Well, very cool. Well, that's awesome. So tell me this kind of, I don't want to take up a ton more of your time. Your students have gone, I assume, for the summer.
They have.
We were talking earlier, you're going to get to take a little bit of a break, which is much needed in higher education. People don't understand the level of stress and pressure that's on everybody in the whole institution. You guys definitely need the break. But before you go, tell us just a little bit more about Anderson University for people who don't know it. Kind of when we talk about it's the right fit for somebody, right? Each one of these schools is the right fit for somebody. What's the right what's the student that it's the right fit for, particularly if we're talking about students who are coming from overseas, whether they're American or coming on a visa. Why should they consider Anderson as part of their pool, part of the pool?
Well, it really depends on the individual. It's always nuanced, right? But what I can share about Anderson University is that we're small, we're private, and we're a faith-based institution. We align with the Church of God as our faith institution. And when I say that we're small, that means that our institution's enrollment is less than 3,000. So at the moment, our enrollment's around 1,000 students for undergraduate. And then when you add in the graduate programs, that brings us up to around 1,200. And I think, as you're an international student assessing what's the best fit for me, you need to think about what you're accustomed to. That's one of the reasons why I came to Anderson University, was I was accustomed to something small, a classroom experience where my professors would know my name and that I would be in a safe space and where I knew I could access not only administrators, but my professors. And that's the kind of experience that you'll have here. In fact, our president of our university lives here on campus. So in the mornings, if you're walking out at the same time he's walking out of your house, you're going to see, your president, and you're going to be able to interact with them. That's the value of a small private institution, is the relationships that you can develop with all of the individuals here. So if you're looking for something where you're going to be successful and not just a number, then you need to consider an institution like Anderson University. And that was important for my success. And as a young 16-year-old, I am so impressed looking back that I understood that about myself.
Yeah.
Because there were times I struggled because, coming overseas, even though I went to an American institution, when I came here, the culture is different. The food is different. The habits are different. How you dress for class is different. All of those things. If I had done that in a large private or even a large public institution, I would have been a lost number and no one would have cared about my success. Whereas administrators, and when I say administrators, I mean the staff, student success teams, or even the people that you work for and your faculty care about you as an individual as well as a student. And if they see that you're struggling, I guarantee you at an institution like Anderson University, someone's going to ask, how can I help you? What's going on? They're going to care about you. You're not just a number. You're not just a student. So I love this institution. I bleed orange is what I say. I even cry orange because let's be honest, it's hard work. It is hard work to be here. But absolutely, if you are looking for a personal experience where you're cared and loved for, and you're given the opportunity to transform, both spiritually and educationally, this is the place for you.
Well, that's fantastic. And that's a good word. Certainly was my experience as well. As a parent, when I was thinking about where I was going to send my son to school, a place like Anderson was really the only kind of place we wanted. We were living in Indonesia at the time. I didn't want to just send him to some rando place where he would just be a number.
Right.
I wanted him to thrive and I wanted him to flourish. And I believed, given his personality, that a place like Anderson would give him the best opportunity. Doesn't mean he still has to take it, right? He still has to make it happen, but
you have to do the work.
Yeah.
You can't just show up and get a degree. You actually have to come here and be engaged and do the work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But at least there's a chance.
There's a chance. And there's also a chance for you to grow in leadership, because there's leadership opportunities for you as a student. And if you're athletic, there are always going to be opportunities for you to do something in athletics or theater or music or, whatever the case may be. There are opportunities here that you can really engage in that you might not be able to at a larger institution. Yeah.
For sure. Well, that's a great word. I think that's probably a great word to end on. Suahil, thank you for the work you do on behalf of other international students.
It's my pleasure.
Certainly a great success story. And Anderson is very blessed to have you as one of their champions, and certainly sets them up with a greater possibility for success in a very turbulent educational world. So Thanks for what you do for my alma mater as well
Thank
as your
you.
own. And we wish you the very, very best. There'll be a link in the description of where whoever's watching this video, there'll be a link in the description for the book that Suahil and her teammates did. Encourage you to pick that up and encourage you to look at Anderson University. And from my experience, I know, and from Suahil's, she knows, that you now have a friend at Anderson University.
Yes, you do.
It's a connection. It's very real. I reach out to people like Suahil. When my son was going to a school, I found my connection, made that a very real connect, and that's an important thing to do. So she's a good one to have at Anderson, and I thank you again for being on Global Student Voices.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning into Global Student Voices. We're committed to bringing you the best advice and to share stories from global students and educators. We need your help. Make sure you subscribe, share, rate, and review our podcast. Follow us on social media for more updates, and we'll see you next time. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.